Hello everybody, welcome back to the table. Today we are going to take a look at the Boa from Shieldon Knives. This is the second of 4 Shieldon knives I received from the company for the purpose of making videos on them. I am going to mention right now that while Shieldon did send me this knife, they are not reviewing these videos at all before I upload them to YouTube. So the Boa here is a mid to low range budget knife, and the idea is that this knife will eventually retail, and it currently is retailing as far as I can tell for around the $50 price point. So what are we getting for the price? First off, this is a fairly large knife, so the overall length of the knife when it's opened is 8 3/4 inches, and the blade length is coming in at around 3.8 inches long. In my opinion, though, there are 2 features of this knife that make it stand out in an otherwise crowded knife market. First, what really jumps out to you with this knife is going to be the blade. The shape here is very unique. We have this upswept Tanto shape, and if you're familiar at all with GTC knives, it is one of the few blade shapes I could really compare it with. Even then, we still have a long, flat edge and this extreme Tanto tip. We can check out the markings on the blade. Here on the show side, we have the Shieldon logo. And on the reverse side, we have the model name, the Boa, along with the designer name, who goes by the name Django. Also in small text beyond that is the model number as well. The blade does have an elongated opening hole, which does add some more visual flair to the blade, but it's not really effective as a quick and efficient means of opening the blade in comparison to the flipper tab. The blade steel we're working with here is D2 steel, and as you can probably already tell, the blade is coated with a gray titanium coating. So this type of gray coating is very popular, I know, with Kershaw knives, as they use it on many of their import models. And I can see from the Shieldon website that this knife, the Boa, also comes in 2 other varieties, with a black coated blade, as well as with a black stonewash blade option as well. One detail on the blade not lost to me is that we do have some jimping here along the spine. There's no jimping on the frame on this one, unfortunately, but certainly some jimping is better than, none at all. And the blade itself does run on bearings, and so the action, just as I expected, is great. It flicks open easily, it likes to fall shut under its own weight, and while we're looking at it, check out the lockup. So we can see the liner lock sits nice and early, and let's close the blade up, and we can also see the centering as well. And usually, from what I've noticed, knives on bearings usually center pretty well. The second feature of this knife that really makes it a striking choice would be, in my opinion, these G10 scales. Just like its namesake, the Boa, we have earth tones. We have brown, green, black. It's very well done. And if you look close, check out the pattern along the edges. These areas of the scales, they have a checkered texture, which feel pretty nice in the hand, so nice little detail there. At the rear of the knife, we do have a large lanyard hole for those of you who need one, so they did put that on here. And the knife overall does have an open flow-through design with standoffs on the rear. An impressive detail at this price. If you look inside the coated steel liners, take a look inside there. We can see that the inner liners, they have cutouts in them to help with weight reduction on this knife. And so the cutout liners, steel frame, of course, this gives the full-size knife a weight of 4.62 ounces. So anything they can do to reduce weight on a full-size knife like this is always going to be, more than welcome. And while we're still looking at the handle, let's check out the pocket clip too. So it is the same gray coated color as the blade, and it is single position only. So it's set for tip up right-hand side carry. It has a good amount of flex to it. The clip is a little bit stiffer than the clip on the Shieldon Bulbasaur, which was the last Shieldon knife featured in one of my videos. So in comparison, this one is a little bit tighter. And before we go any further, though, I will mention one area I would like to see improved upon here, and that would be the pivot. So the Shieldon representative I spoke with, he encouraged me to disassemble this knife, something I don't typically do in my videos. he specifically mentioned that they would not be using Loctite on the screws on this model. But in the time I've had this knife and, been obsessively flipping the blade open, shut, the pivot has come slightly loose because they did not use that Loctite, which in itself, that's not a problem until you try to tighten the pivot up. You'll notice both sides of the knife use the T8 Torx pivot. So if you only try to adjust one side, sadly the pivot will spin in place. It means that you need to somewhat awkwardly hold the knife and pinch it between two different Torx drivers to tighten or loosen the pivot on the knife. And so what I would recommend, a simple D-shaped pivot pin could completely eliminate this issue. So it is somewhat annoying to see manufacturers continue to ship out knives with spinning pivots. They just cause endless frustration. But moving on, let's make a few comparisons to some other knives I have here on the table. First, we can compare the Boa to another Shieldon knife, the Bulbasaur. So both of these are larger size knives, and you can see some family resemblance there for sure. Let's check them out. We're also going to check out comparisons with a few other knives I have on the table. So we have the Kershaw Blur, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian, and the Spyderco Endura. So sit back and let's check out comparisons between all these knives. So the Boa here is the second of 4 of the Shieldon knives I get to make videos about. This isn't a knife that I really would have given a second or third glance in normal circumstances, so I can really appreciate, getting the opportunity to get one in my hands. So while it really doesn't float my boat style-wise, so to speak, I can still very much understand the appeal, the camo coloration, the extreme Tanto tip. A lot of people love those features. And so what do you think of the Boa? So honestly, tell me in the comments. I would appreciate reading all those thoughts out there. But thank you for watching, everybody, and have a nice day. Goodbye.